What's up, gang? Kawaii50 here with another FGO servant breakdown, and I am excited to talk about a servant I have been very excited for. No, Kasuga. She currently goes by Kagetora Nagao. I like your enthusiasm, though. We're going to be going over all aspects of Kagetora's kit, some of the best command codes and craft essences, as well as allies for her. So hopefully this video helps you out. If it does, be sure to go ahead, like, and subscribe. This freebie Lancer, who really might as well be a weapon master based on her animations, has a quick Arts Buster deck with a single target arts type Noble Phantasm. That's right, she is designed as an absolute single target boss slayer. Both for stats, HP, and attack are fine, sitting at 11,360 and 9,617 respectively. Her NP per hit is also solid at a 0.45%, and her star absorption sits at an 89. One thing that is worth noting, though, is that Kagetora does have the potential to loop, mainly if she ends up getting critical stars fed into her 2 arts cards, which she absolutely has the ability to initiate. But we'll get over that in the skills. Just know that even with these stats, she can indeed loop on her opponent. Kagetora's first skill is Fate Decreed by the Heavens, rank A. This gives her a 20 to 30% increase to her arts card effectiveness, and also increases her critical star gather rate by 300 to 500%. With that star gather rate, we can go ahead and focus on those arts cards, give them some delicious critical stars, and after we follow up a Noble Phantasm with them, you will have the potential to loop Noble Phantasm on the next turn with Kagetora. You'll just have to deal with the fact that you won't be able to use Fate Decreed by the Heavens again. If you're focusing mainly on doing this with her Noble Phantasm, I recommend maxing this skill first. That is going to give you the bonus arts card effectiveness and the star gather rate to even allow you to use some of the greedier, more star-hungry supports with Kagetora. Kagetora's second skill is Armor Strengthened by the Heart, rank A. This gives her 1 turn of evade, but more importantly, it also gives her a 20 to 30% increased NP gain. This can be a great way to make up for maybe not having enough stars if you are attempting to loop. The main problem, though, is that this is tied to the only survivability tool in her kit. So there's going to be a lot of instances and encounters where you're gonna have to pick and choose. If you have a support ready to provide Kagetora with the survivability that she needs, you don't need to worry about it that much. Like, say for example, with Izo's evade, I focus on the critical damage because I have the survivability to back him up to the point where I don't need to use the evade. The same can be said for this skill on Kagetora. I still recommend you max this last though. The NP gain is already solid at base, and the main reason you're leveling this up is to try and cool down the skill, if anything. And Kagetora's final skill is Glory Gained on Foot, rank A. This actually affects all of your allies, and it's sort of a supercharged charisma skill. This grants her a 10 to 20% increase, and all of her allies the same increase on attack, critical strength, and critical star drop rate. So you do have a bit of potential if you use this at the beginning of a battle to get to that point where you have enough stars to loop off of her Noble Phantasm Arts Brave Chain. So it is a nice bonus that really ends up making her far more consistent and give you more opportunities for burst damage. Go ahead and max this skill second. And Kagetora's Noble Phantasm is the absolutely monstrous Bishamonten's 8-aspect riding formation. This deals 900 to 1500% damage to a single enemy, but it's going to be dealing 1500% damage to a single enemy because if you have Kagetora, you should have farmed her to NP5. I don't understand why you wouldn't. This also removes offensive buffs from a single enemy, so you can get rid of attack downs, buster card effectiveness up, Noble Phantasm boost, the works. On Overcharge, this decreases the critical rate of a single enemy for 3 turns, a deceptively powerful buff, especially when you're fighting certain challenge bosses. A lot of them really like to stack crit, and having fewer opportunities for the enemy to hit you with an unlucky crit is going to help your overall survivability. Truly a stunning Noble Phantasm. So who do we bring to help Kagetora be the best she can be? Well, I'm sure you've already guessed, she demands archetype supporters. So you want your caster Artoria, your Tamamo no Mai, your caster Gilgamesh, your Helena Blavatsky. Those are all going to be very, very helpful. You can, of course, bring your Lanling Wang, but you have to be careful on that. Yes, he is powerful, but he is also going to be weak to archers, the thing that you are probably bringing Kagetora to fight. If your enemy is a berserker, you don't have to worry about this as much since everyone's taking about the same damage. Just please keep that in mind, maybe just use all his buffs and plug suit him out for somebody else. Just remember this. There are, of course, other allies that can help Kagetora reach her potential. I do have a freebie option, and some of the other ones are going to be a little more expensive. I apologize for that. However, these characters actually can bring a lot to the table for Kagetora. And you got Kagetora for free, so I feel like having some more expensive characters in the ally section is alright. Let's of course mention the ever-lovely Paracelsus von Hohenheim. I feel a need to mention Hohenheim whenever the opportunity comes up, because I still see there are a lot of masters out there that haven't invested in this man, and you need to do it. Philosopher Stone is a truly incredible skill, granting an extra 30 to 50% NP gain. You can of course stack that with Kagetora's second skill, and that NP gain lasts for 3 turns as opposed to just the one off of Kagetora's skill. It is an absolutely amazing boon that can really help so many arts teams out there. Kagetora is of course no exception to being helped by Hohenheim. Level your Hohenheim. And here's where we start to get into the expensive characters. I sort of tried to look for characters that are focused on arts, as well as other Lancers, since you're probably taking Kagetora to fight things that are weak to Lancers. Bringing more Lancers is going to be a good call. Let's of course start with Bryn Hilda, who has the phenomenal Hero's Assistant rank C++ ability. And this is the main reason we are bringing Kagetora along with her. This increases a ally's critical star gather rate by 1,000 to 3,000%. Gives them a 20 to 40% crit damage boost, and recovers their HP. Considering Kagetora's Stargather boost only lasts for 1 turn, being able to get a total of 4 turns out of that is going to be very helpful for extending her window for burst damage. You may end up getting some times where you can't attack depending on your card draws, but overall, using Hero's Assistant on Kagetora is just going to be a straight up damage boost. Where there are archetype damage dealers, we of course need to mention Sherlock Holmes after the magnificent buff to his Gift of Insight ability, which will then decrease the arts resistance of all enemies by 10 to 20%, further amplifying Kagetora's damage. This is what makes him a great supporter for arts units in particular, but he can be a great supporter for anybody, of course thanks to his Elementary My Dear skill, decreasing the enemy's defense and giving all of his allies Ignore Invincible and Ignore Defense. Since Kagetora doesn't have a way to ignore Invincible and ignore defense, Sherlock Holmes can really help her out against some of the more defensive playing enemies. Fishing for the right command cards might be an issue for you, so of course I looked at the 2 servants that are able to manipulate the command deck, and I settled on Artoria Pendragon Ruler as the better pick for Kagetora, and this is because of the upgrade to a Royal Card skill. When Royal Card gets upgraded, it increases all of your allies' critical strength still, it still re-deals all of those command cards, but you get to pick an ally whose cards aren't drawn, so you've got a better chance of getting what you want, and also it will increase all allies' NP gain by 20 to 30% for a single turn, which is of course stackable with Kagetora's second skill. Any servant that's able to grant Kagetora critical strength and NP gain is gonna be a good pick, but having Artoria able to manipulate the deck in Kagetora's favor is even better. Kagetora is of course one magnificent arts type damage dealer, but of course I've got to mention another arts type damage dealer who happens to be a Lancer as well, and that is Vritra. Vritra has a bunch of fantastic boons she can give Kagetora for a bunch of situations, and these will also increase her damage as well, so you'll have 2 instances of increased damage in multiple ways on the field. Let's look at her Noble Phantasm first and foremost, which on overcharge decreases the arts resist of all enemies by 10 to 30%. This will not only increase Vritra's damage, but it will increase Kagetora's as well. Further increasing Noble Phantasm damage is her Eternal Immortal Demon rank EX skill. This grants her NP regen and a revive, but it also grants all of her allies 10 to 20% Noble Phantasm strength, and it lasts for 5 turns. It only pops once, but you only really need it to pop once. You can truly set up a devastating Noble Phantasm chain with Kagetora's easy NP5 Noble Phantasm at the end with Ritra. And if your enemy is divine, well, they're not really going to be divine for that much longer, if you catch my drift. For Kagetora's command codes, we of course want Arts Card Effectiveness first and foremost. NP Strength is going to be a magnificent boost because of course your Kagetora is at Noble Phantasm 5. Critical Strength is also a phenomenal pick as well. You have that way to draw all of those stars to Kagetora's cards. Why don't you just go ahead and capitalize on that? So let's start with 2 freebie options. First off, I really like Dive to Blue, increasing Kagetora's Arts Card Effectiveness, NP Strength, and giving her a starting NP gauge. Painting Summer is also great as well, and you will trade out that NP Strength for increased NP gain instead. Mark on a Smiling Face is of course a more expensive option, but the bonuses it gives Kagetora are very, very helpful. Arts Card Effectiveness, NP Gain, and NP Strength on a servant that is guaranteed NP5 and has the potential to Arts Brave Chain and potentially Arts Loop? Oh yeah, that's nice. And finally, for the more critical-minded damage dealers, I also like New Beginnings, granting Arts Card Effectiveness, Critical Strength, and a starting NP gauge. I don't think this is as effective on her as Mark on a Smiling Face, but if you don't have the other option and you don't really want to use the freebie craft essences, or you don't have them, this can be another good pick as well. For Kagetora's command codes, she's going to be drawing stars to herself, so let's go ahead and focus on critical damage on those arts cards. We can start with Gakyo no Fude, which you can only engrave on an arts card for the boost, and that will increase one of those cards' crit damage by 20%. You can also get the same effect on another arts card with Heavenly Child of Karama. There are, of course, options for her other cards as well. For her quick card, I'd recommend something along the lines of Crest of Humanity. This increases critical star generation rate. Since Kagetora has the ability to increase her own critical star generation rate, and some of the allies can improve on that, why not improve on that with her card best designed for generating stars? For Buster cards, that's going to be a little more tricky with my recommendations. You can, of course, go pure critical damage on the Buster cards, but I find sometimes it's more fun to turn those Buster cards into a form of utility on an arts-type servant. Take, for example, Magus of the Flowers. You can chuck this on a Buster card and gain 10% Noble Phantasm gauge off of that Buster card, instead of it granting her pretty much nothing. This could honestly end up helping you with looping if you play your cards right. And for the final Buster card, consider something that can go ahead and cleanse a debuff, since Kagetora doesn't have the ability to do that on her own. Something like White Vessel's Command Seal or the freebie version Code Cure will do the job. Overall, gang, I've really got to say, I am so happy that I am super into Kagetora's character after Guda Guda 4. I really like her as a character, which makes me very happy to see that she is also an absolute monster of a freebie servant. She is an incredible damage dealer and has all of the beautiful pieces of her kit working well together to turn her into an arts crit and arts looping servant. Any arts damage dealer is strong if they have the potential to loop, but having an NP5 Noble Phantasm on top of that doesn't just give you a better potential to loop, it just has you deal more damage overall. I would say if anyone out there is lacking in a Lancer, they need to acquire Kagetora Nagao. She will become an absolute staple on your front lines. But if you can't get her during this run of Guda Guda 4, no worries, there will be a rerun. Just make sure you get her on a rerun. Kagetora, must get. But of course, I want to know your all thoughts. Let me know how you feel about Kagetora Nagao down in the comment section below. Let me know if you have any other recommendations that you think could help make her even better, be they allies, craft essences, or command codes. Any information really helps. Also, maybe share some of your favorite moments from Guda Guda 4. It's a very well written event, and I am loving every second of it. If you want to talk more FGO, by the way, my Discord server is always open. I want to give a big thanks to everyone on Patreon and all of the subscribers on Twitch. Your continued tireless support really helps me push through, even on days like today where I'm feeling under the weather. Gotta get that video out for you guys. Gotta do it. And maybe consider following the Twitch. We're playing a bunch of cool games on there. FGO is, of course, in the rotation whenever there's cool stuff going on. But I am indeed trying to branch out and trying to bring everyone some more lovely, entertaining games. Anyways, this is Kawaii50. I hope you all have a phenomenal day. And I'll see you all in the next video.